Hello YouTube, Goddard Radio Moscow here again with another beer review for you, as is usual. So for this one we're going to head back over to the state of Pennsylvania in the United States, where there happens to be an absolute madman of a metalhead who lives in the woods and also likes to review beer. And if you know anything about your YouTube beer reviews, you'll know I'm talking about Paul Romeli at PABrewNews. So go and check out his channel for some more in-depth guides on Pennsylvania beer and indeed the wider US craft beer. But we're going to go to Paul's home state and visit Victory Brewing, and this time we'll have a taste of Prima Pils. Now I did review one of these beers for you before, the name of which actually eludes me at the moment, but it was very nice and I was very impressed with it, so I'm looking forward to reviewing this particular one. And Paul did tell me this was a very good beer, and Pils beers and Helles beers are a style that I'm now quite picky with. Obviously having spent about 4 or 5 months in Germany, I really got a taste for these styles, so I'm really interested to see what this one's like, because it is very highly rated on Rate Beer and Beer Advocate. But as is usual then with my beer reviews, I will take you through a history of the brewery. It will be a sort of longer than short, it will be a more long one than short one I should say with this, because I haven't done one of these reviews in quite a while, so I'll do the lengthier one, but for the next one I will actually shorten it a bit. I have the Headwaters Pale to review for you in a little while, but as always, if you are simply interested in the tasting of the beer, just fast forward a few minutes and you will catch that, and the brewery website's in the video description for you below, along with the link to my other Victory Brewing beer reviews. So Anyway, pardon me, the brewery is located in Downington in Pennsylvania, and this is about 30 miles from Philadelphia. But Victory Brewing was founded by two friends, Ron Barchett and Bill Kovalevsky, and they'd been friends since 1973 when they were in the first grade, and apparently they remained very good friends despite going to university on different coasts of the US. But a few months after finishing university, Bill's interest in beer and access to his father's home brewing equipment prompted him to further explore his hobby, and in 1985 he gave Ron a home brewing kit as a Christmas gift, and this helped them both pursue their love of beer, and it apparently led to a bit of a friendly rivalry as well. But over time they gradually grew sick of their jobs in the corporate world and decided that they wanted to combine their skills and begin a career as brewers. So Ron quit his job as a financial analyst and began an apprenticeship at the Baltimore Brewing Company, working under Dutch-born, German-trained brewer Theo de Groen. And after working here for a year, Ron actually moved to the Technical University of Munich at Weinstefan, obviously a very famous brewery, the oldest brewery in the world, and also a brewing school down there as well. And as Ron actually departed for Germany, Bill immediately took over Ron's role in Baltimore. And while Ron was enhancing his knowledge of German brewing, Bill was helping the Baltimore Brewing Company to expand their range of beers to include several German speciality beers, and many of these went on to win awards at the Great American Beer Festival. And following his time in Baltimore, Bill travelled to Munich in Germany to study at the Dohmens Institute, another very famous institute for teaching brewers of course out there. But Ron returned to the US after a year of study in Germany, and he took up a role at Old Dominion Brewing Company in Virginia, and over the course of his 4-year spell as brewmaster he helped them increase their production of the brewery tenfold, from 1,500 to 15,000 barrels per annum. But with all this gained knowledge, Bill and Ron decided that it was time to start their own brewing company, and so they settled on Pennsylvania, which was where they first met as the location of the brewery that they were going to start up. So Victory Brewing opened to the public on the 15th of February 1996, and they actually converted a former Pepperidge Farm factory into a 144-seater restaurant with a 70-fruit brewery and a full-scale brewery. And in that first year of operation, the brewery actually brewed 1,725 barrels of beer that year. So in more recent years they've actually increased the size of the restaurant to 300 seats and also expanded the capacity of the brewery, and in 2012 apparently the brewery brewed 93,196 barrels of beer. So that gives you an idea of just how much these guys have expanded in the last few years. But I'll just tell you a little bit about the actual brewing here, because it is quite interesting. They're an American craft brewery obviously, but they're very interested in German brewing, which is pretty cool as well. So they use German imported malts and a mixture of American and imported European whole flower hops. They're one of the few breweries in the US who actually do this, but they say that it gives the beer a more fuller flavour and fuller aroma as well. And apparently they also have 45 different unique yeast strains to complement their wide variety of beers. If you go and look in their website, which is in the video description for you below, just have a look at the whole host of beers you can get from these guys. And of course all of their water is sourced locally. But like a number of US craft breweries, they're they're also committed to environmental responsibility, and they maintain a policy of low environmental impact manufacturing. Their main source of electricity, of course, is solar power, and they also recycle as much of their waste as they can. They compost the food waste from the restaurant, and they have an arrangement with a local cattle farmer to take their spent grain. And recently they actually began brewing at their new purpose-built facility in Parksburg, which will have a total capacity per annum of 225,000 barrels once it's up and fully running. It probably will be by this time, actually. But just to list the other beers you can get from these guys before we get on to the tasting. The regular beers include the Hop Devil IPA, apparently very, very nice. The Golden Monkey, which is a Belgian Trip Ale. Prima Pils, obviously this guy here. Headwaters Pale Ale, which I'll review for you shortly. Storm King, which is an Imperial Stout. Dirt Wolf, which is a double IPA, Victory Lager, Donnybrook Stout, V12, which is a Belgian Strong Ale, Helios Farmhouse Ale, the Mad King's Vice, Hop Wallop, Baltic Thunder, which is a Baltic Porter, and Braumeister Pils. In their seasonal range, they have Hop Ranch, which is an IPA, Swing, which is a Session Saison, Summer Love, which is a Golden Ale, Fest Beer, which is Oktoberfest Märzen, Winter Cheers, which is a wheat ale, Old Horizon, which is an American-style barley wine, Sunrise Weissbier, Moonglow Weizenbock, St. Boisterous Hellerbock, St. Victorious Doppelbock, and Takima Glory Ale. So as you can see just from the names of some of these guys, like I say to you, they are a very German-influenced brewery, but obviously that's understandable if the two main guys in the brewery have studied at Doemens and pardon me, at Weihenstephan as well. So let's get on to the tasting of this guy. As I say, I'm a little bit picky with this style because I lived in Germany for 4 and 5 months, but I hear, as I say, it's a very, very highly rated beer on Beer Advocate and Rate Beer, so really got my fingers crossed for this one that it's really good. So I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork and stuff on this one. It's a 5.3% German style pils, German 2-row malts, and German and Czech hops in this one. So it's quite nicely presented, as you can see. I think this is the sort of standard Victory kind of writing and things here. The top label, I believe, is actually standard for all of these ones, as is the bottle cap, which is quite cool actually. I kept the one that I had before, but I'll just read out the little sort of product description on the side there, and it says, Prima, an explanation of joy, a recognition of accomplishment. Though it's spoken in German, it's felt in all languages. It's what escaped our lips as we sampled the first brew of this mighty Pilsner beer. Though we'd been through a few in our years with other breweries, finally, the whole flower European hops and fine German malts, we had achieved what we'd thought for so long. Prima, an exclamation of victory, Prost. And it's got Bill and Ron's signatures here, the brewmasters of Victory. So let's get this guy open here and get on with the tasting. So this is actually, now that I think about it, it's the kind of flagship beer, Prima Victory Brewing. So let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting here. A nice smoky opening here, just a little bubble trying to escape as we get it out. So let's get it out and see how we get on. And this is another beer that I picked up incidentally from Thistle News in Aberdeen, who do a lot of Danish beer, you know, Toul, Mikkeller and stuff like that, but you do tend to pick up some random things from America, New Zealand, Australia, all of these sort of places. So a very, very nice little family-owned news agents that sell craft beer on the side. The link's in the video description below, so check them out if you are watching from Scotland. So as is usual, let's have a little look at the colour of this guy. I'll just bring up the light and let you see it. It's a hazy, very sort of bright yellow beer, and I can smell just how fresh this beer is, just without even paying too much attention to it. A solid finger of a nice white head on there. Hazy beer, as I say, a really bright sort of bright yellow. There's no other way to describe that actually. Just a little bit of carbonation going up to the bottom of the head, but a really attractive looking beer, as from what Paul tells me, as is typical of Victory Brewing. So let's give it a smell. Very fresh sort of citricy hops in there. Just a little bit of a kind of biscuity malt actually, but it's got a lot of floral and aromatic character to it as well, and the citrus is just kind of sticking out on the top there. But it's got a nice little bit of just caramel, maybe biscuity malt in there too. There's a little bit of cereal, I think, as well. But you can just smell how fresh this beer is. It's got quite an unusual sort of taint on the grassy character actually. It smells very, very lemony and very sweet. But it's very, very nice, and as I say, I'm a little bit picky with these beers, so let's just see how we get on with the tasting here. Now, that is a really, really nice beer, I will say that. Yeah, it's very different from some of the German Pils that I come across. The one thing that's, this is quite a hoppy version of the Pilsner. Usually the ones that I had in Germany had a bit more of a balance between the kind of malt base. You really had a nice sort of bready malt base in it, but this guy is more of a hop forward one. The malt base, I think, is quite subdued, but nonetheless it's really, really nice. And if you like hop forward beers, you know, definitely give this guy a go. But yeah, the malt base does come out a little bit as you move through the beer. You've got a nice sort of white bready malt base. There's a good bit of cereal in there too that gives it just a little bit of spice, but I think that's complemented by the hops as well. You're probably getting quite a nice little spicy floral element out of the hops there, and they complement each other really well in my opinion. So just if I swirl it about, you're definitely getting that malt base in the middle of the tongue. Around the edges you're getting that really nice kind of floral aromatic character. Very fresh, a lot of nice kind of citric lemon flavours in there actually, but mainly aromatic. It's quite a spicy one, this actually, that's what I would say. The kind of bready malts are mixing a lot with the kind of with the hoppy spice and things in there. It's really nicely done, but I think the cereal, there is a kind of grainy sort of cereal taste to this as well, and they both complement each other very well. Quite a spicy Pilsner, it's quite unusual in that sense. But yeah, it's really interesting. It's very different to the German Pils and Helles beers that I was used to. And it really is, it's a very unique take on the style. I say that in a number of my beer reviews, but it's definitely, this is a very interesting beer, you know. If you get the chance to try this, just try it, because it's, as I said, this is a style I'm pretty familiar with from my time in Germany, and these guys are a very German influenced brewery, of course, and I think this is very different actually to what I've had in living in Baden-Württemberg and stuff like that, but it's really nice. But yes, I think there's a touch of just earthy character coming out there at the front of the tongue as well. But I would say that in the middle of the tongue where you're getting the nice malt base, you've got a nice white bready bit in there, maybe just a little bit of biscuit, a little faint hint of caramel in there. But it's got a nice little cereal spice that comes out to it too. And around the edge of the tongue, you're getting the sort of citric and aromatic floral character that they say should come out in the product description. It's really nice, but the spice character from this kind of big floral aromatic bouquet mixes very well with the cereal spice that's coming out in the malt base. It goes together very, very well. So it's a really quite spicy beer actually. It's very, very interesting that way. But yeah, it's like I say, a very unusual take on the style. I mean, in terms of the mouthfeel, it fits the bill. It's light bodied, it's quite well carbonated actually. One of the more carbonated beers that I've had, the carbonation in it does attack quite a little bit, but it helps to bring out the aromatic character and just spice a little bit too. Maybe that's one of the big contributors to it in this beer. But I would say it's kind of quite dry on the finish actually, and in the aftertaste as well, where you're getting a little bit more of the aromatic character coming out. I would say it is quite a dry beer, but it suits it. It really does suit it very well, and it's quite an easy drinking one actually. But it's a little, I would say, in comparison to the some of the other craft lagers that I've had, this one just feels a little bit heavier, and I'm not sure whether that is down to the sort of pronounced spice character that's in this one. One of the big beers we have in Scotland that is a sort of similar idea to this is the Schiehallion. And it's quite a hoppy one, but obviously it's got quite a bit of grapefruit flavour in it, so it's almost at the other end of the scale of this one, I guess. But this guy, to me, feels quite a bit heavier than that. I would be really interested to see how this guy comes out as a cask ale, so maybe if I get over to visit Paul in Pennsylvania, you know, that's something I can do. But overall, it's a very interesting Pils, really, really nice, and I'd quite happily session a few of these. I'd have to get, I think I would have, it's one that it would definitely kind of grow on me a little bit. I'm not quite used to this sort of spice character coming out so prominently, but I can tell that this would be one that would kind of grow on me and get into it, and that's what happened to me in Germany when I was trying all these German Helles beers. I wasn't so sure at first, but then I gradually got into it, and this is another sort of different take on the style, so I know after a few of these I would definitely like it. But Anyway, so I hope you found this beer review informative. I hope I'm not rambling away too much, but it's a very nice beer. As I say, it's quite a pronounced kind of spicy character to it, a little bit heavier than you would normally expect a Pils to be, but very, very nice nonetheless. Some really interesting flavours in there. The aromatic and floral character kind of gives it just a little bit of a different dimension from many of the other Pils beers that you'll find on the market. So, you know, give it a try. Victory Brewing are quite a highly regarded brewery in US craft beer circles, so, you know, definitely give them a go, and I'm sure they're starting to distribute a little bit more throughout the UK, so check out in Scotland if you do find these, and throughout Europe as well. So as I say, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. Comment in the comment section below and let me know your own thoughts on this beer if you do happen to have tried it. But thanks again for your support over these beer reviews. As always, like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. I'll catch you soon with another beer review, and I will be reviewing the Headwaters Pale Ale from Victory in the very near future. Cheers!